Welcome back to the Gospel in Motion. Today we're diving into Mark chapters 10 and 11 in the King James Version. These chapters hit hard. Jesus challenges a rich young ruler, teaches what real greatness looks like, heals with unstoppable compassion, and rides into Jerusalem as the long-promised king. If you're a teen who wants the Bible to feel real, powerful, and alive, you're in the right place. Make sure you hit subscribe so you don't miss the next chapters. The story is building and you'll want to stay on this journey. Jesus left that place and went to the region of Judea across the Jordan. Crowds gathered around him again, and he taught them as usual. Some Pharisees came to test him and asked, "Is it lawful for a man to divorce his wife?" Jesus said, "What did Moses command you?" They answered, "Moses allowed a man to write a certificate of divorce and send her away." Jesus said, "He gave that rule because your hearts were hard. But from the beginning of creation, God made them male and female. For this reason, a man leaves his parents and is joined to his wife, and the two become one flesh. They are no longer two, but one. So what God has joined together, no one should separate." Later in the house, the disciples asked him again about this. Jesus said, "Anyone who divorces their spouse and marries someone else commits adultery." People brought little children to Jesus so he would touch them, but the disciples tried to stop them. When Jesus saw this, he was upset and said, "Let the children come to me. Don't stop them. God's kingdom belongs to people like them. Anyone who doesn't receive God's kingdom like a child won't enter it." He took the children in his arms, laid his hands on them, and blessed them. As Jesus was starting out on a journey, a man ran up, knelt before him, and asked, "Good master, what must I do to inherit eternal life?" Jesus said, "Why do you call me good? No one is good except God. You know the commandments. Don't commit adultery, don't kill, don't steal, don't lie, don't cheat, honor your parents." The man said, "Teacher, I've kept all these since I was young." Jesus looked at him with love and said, "You're missing one thing. Go sell what you have, give to the poor, and you'll have treasure in heaven. Then come follow me." The man's face fell. He went away sad because he had many possessions. Jesus looked around and said to his disciples, "How hard it is for those who trust in riches to enter God's kingdom." The disciples were shocked. Jesus said again, "Children, it's hard to enter God's kingdom. It's easier for a camel to go through the eye of a needle than for a rich person to enter God's kingdom." They were even more amazed and said, "Who then can be saved?" Jesus said, "With people it's impossible, but not with God. With God, all things are possible." Peter said, "We've left everything to follow you." Jesus said, "Anyone who has left home, family, or possessions for my sake and the gospel will receive 100 times as much now, along with persecutions, and in the world to come, eternal life. But many who are first will be last, and the last first." They were on the road going up to Jerusalem, and Jesus walked ahead of them. The disciples were amazed, and the others were afraid. Jesus took the 12 aside and told them what would happen to him. "We're going to Jerusalem. The Son of Man will be handed over to the chief priests and scribes. They will condemn him to death, hand him over to the Gentiles, mock him, spit on him, beat him, and kill him. After 3 days he will rise again." James and John came to him and said, "Teacher, we want you to do something for us." Jesus said, "What do you want?" They said, "Let us sit at your right and left in your glory." Jesus said, "You don't know what you're asking. Can you drink the cup I drink or be baptized with the baptism I'm baptized with?" They said, "We can." Jesus said, "You will, but sitting at my right or left isn't mine to give. Those places belong to the ones prepared for them." When the other 10 heard this, they were angry with James and John. Jesus called them together and said, "You know how rulers act like bosses over people. But it must not be like that among you. Whoever wants to be great must be a servant, and whoever wants to be first must be the servant of all. For even the Son of Man didn't come to be served, but to serve and to give his life as a ransom for many." They came to Jericho. As Jesus was leaving the city with his disciples and a crowd, a blind beggar named Bartimaeus was sitting by the road. When he heard Jesus was passing by, he shouted, "Jesus, Son of David, have mercy on me." Many people told him to be quiet, but he shouted even louder, "Son of David, have mercy on me." Jesus stopped and said, "Call him." They told the blind man, "Cheer up! Get up, he's calling you." Bartimaeus threw off his coat, jumped up, and came to Jesus. Jesus asked, "What do you want me to do for you?" He said, "Lord, I want to see." Jesus said, "Go your way. Your faith has made you whole." Immediately he received his sight and followed Jesus on the road. When Jesus and his crew were getting close to Jerusalem near Bethphage and Bethany by the Mount of Olives, he sent 2 of his disciples ahead. He told them, "Go into that village up ahead. You'll find a young donkey tied there that no one has ever ridden. Bring it to me. And if anyone asks why you're taking it, just say, 'The Lord needs it,' and they'll let you go." They went, and everything was exactly the way Jesus said. As they were untying the donkey, some people nearby asked, "Why are you untying that donkey?" The disciples answered exactly the way Jesus told them to, and the people let them take it. They brought the donkey to Jesus, laid their coats on its back, and Jesus sat on it. A huge crowd welcomed him by spreading their coats and palm branches on the road like a royal parade. People shouted, "Hosanna! Bless the one who comes in the Lord's name. Bless the coming kingdom of our father David. Hosanna in the highest." Jesus entered Jerusalem, looked around the temple, and then went back to Bethany with the 12 because it was already getting late. The next morning, Jesus was hungry. He saw a fig tree full of leaves, but when he checked it, there were no figs at all. He said to the tree, "No one will ever eat fruit from you again," and his disciples heard him say it. When they reached Jerusalem, Jesus went into the temple and drove out the people who were buying and selling. He stopped anyone from using the temple as a shortcut or a marketplace. He said, "This place is supposed to be a house of prayer for all nations, but you've turned it into a hangout for thieves." The religious leaders heard what he said and started plotting to kill him, because the crowd was amazed by his teaching. That evening, Jesus and his disciples left the city again. The next morning, they passed the same fig tree and saw it completely dried up from the roots. Peter pointed it out and said, "Teacher, look! The fig tree you cursed is totally dried up." Jesus said, "Have real faith in God. If you truly believe, you could tell a mountain to jump into the sea, and it would happen. When you pray, believe you've already received what you're asking for, and it will be yours. And when you pray, forgive anyone you're holding a grudge against, so your Father in heaven will forgive you too." When they returned to Jerusalem, the religious leaders confronted Jesus. They demanded, "Who gave you the right to do all this?" Jesus said, "I'll tell you if you answer one question first. Was John the Baptist's authority from God or from people?" They argued among themselves, afraid of the crowd because everyone believed John was a prophet. They finally said, "We don't know." Jesus replied, "Then I'm not telling you where my authority comes from." Thanks for listening to the Gospel in Motion, Mark chapters 10 and 11 in the King James Version. These chapters show Jesus calling us to deeper faith, real greatness, and bold trust as he enters Jerusalem as the true king. If this spoke to you, don't stop here. Hit subscribe and keep the journey going. The next chapters get even more powerful, and you won't want to miss what happens next.